All right, good morning, everyone. So it's actually the next morning here, Saturday morning, the day I'm hopefully going to fire all this up. So I played around with this for a while last night, and some of you out there might have noticed or saw what I was doing wrong last night, and that's my fault, but these air vents are great when there's liquid in them, but when there's no liquid in them, the valve in there opens to let air out. Well, the problem is if there's no liquid up at the tops of those yet, every time I was turning the pump off, the air was sucking in because the valve was open. So every single time I was shutting the pump off, I was actually letting air into the system with all these bleeders. So, my bad. I just, I've never done this before, and I didn't even think about that. When I filled the domestic water side, I had them open, but I also had a constant, 50 pounds of pressure coming in from the street to push all that air out. See, I can leave all these open as long as the pump's on. But as soon as I turn that pump off, they need to be closed because they're going to suck air if there's air in there. So once I just closed them all for now. I may or may not open them and then reclose them while I have the pump on this morning, but for now they're all closed. And I did notice when I turn the pump off, I'm getting a lot less air entering the system. You can hear it, and hopefully it makes purging a little bit easier. So it was getting late, and once I realized that the pump was getting a little warm, and so I just, I did a couple more purges last night with it, but I ended up just calling it a night. I shut everything down and figured I'd tackle it this morning. So as of last night, I had purged the air in both of these two zones, not the Snowmelt yet. So I went out to the garage this morning and grabbed another washing machine hose that I had, put that on there. So what I think I'm going to do is fire this up, reopen back up both of these loops, get them recirculating again, maybe do it a couple times, see if I can get a lot of the air out of those lines, and then I'm going to start cracking the Snowmelt. I do have that zone on right now, and it's in bypass. It's pretty cool. I left these on all night, and they're all exactly at 68 degrees, which is interesting. These two aquastats are insulated and that one's not, but they're still all reading the same temperature. So I don't know how, they seem pretty accurate that way. I will insulate that, but yeah, anyway, I thought that was neat. So one thing I did notice last night while I was purging, after I shut the camera off, the heaters came on to recirculate the tank, and I was pushing this cold cooler glycol across the flat plate as I was purging it out, and it was working. The water coming out of this thing was over 100 degrees, and it was mixing in there with the glycol, and then it was going into the supply, and within, the heaters only ran for 3 minutes because that's all it takes to circ the tank. I had 100 degree glycol going out to these zones, and the staple up aquastat right here on the return was actually getting 100 degrees coming back. This one was not. This one was still way down, like 70 something, maybe 80 something, but that's got the garage slab on it, so I think it's going to take a little bit more heat than all the staple up. The staple up's easy. But one thing I did notice is this unit had like this low like vibration to it. The incoming glycol, it's actually incoming water to the tankless, but it was like down to like 70 something because it was mixing, the 125 or less degree water coming from the tank was mixing with was going over the flat plate, which was, the flat plate was sucking the heat to the secondary side, and the water, glycol actually, or water actually going into the units was down to like 70, and it seemed like this unit did not like it. It was, had this low grunt. My BTU usage was like 200 and something thousand. So hopefully that's not a problem. Hopefully these things do what I want them to do. Hopefully I don't have any regrets of going with this setup. But if they do that, I will try the altitude setting again, see if that will ramp the fan speed up. I read online where that could kind of fix that, so I could try that. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to fire this pump up and start purging here because I really want to try to turn this thing on today, hopefully this morning. And we got a bunch of snow last night, so the driveway's covered, so I'll be able to take a really good time lapse. I'll probably switch over to the iPhone for video down here so I can leave this GoPro out taking time lapse, and we'll go from there. So I might turn this on in a minute or two just to show you guys, but yeah, today is the day. Thanks. Alright, so here's where I'm at so far. I believe I have all three of these zones purged. I'm having a little bit of trouble purging that flat plate heat exchanger. In hindsight, I probably should have put a purge valve or something up here on this side of these valves. So, but anyway, I'll figure it out. So what I've got right now is I've got all three closed off, in and out. I have the first two circulating. I have my override switches off, so they are in bypass mode, and they are pumping. So as you can see here, I'm getting, you know, master bathroom floor, I'm getting a little bit less than 0.8 gallons a minute, 0.8. Master bedroom, I already evened them out, and you do that just by adjusting them. So like for example, I want the master bedroom floor circuits to be the same west and east, and the bedroom floor and the bathroom to be kind of all the same. And then the shower walls, that's a short one, so I might even restrict that one a little bit more. As you can see, when I turn this, it adjusts the flow. So right now I have it set equal to the two kitchen loops, which are the same. So, and that pump is providing that flow. This is off, and my regular pump is off. I heard a little bit of air in there, so I opened up my valves, and a little bit of it came out. So I've just been letting that cook for now. So it's just bypassing, it's doing its thing. Same thing with this one for the slabs. I put it in bypass, turned it on, heard a little bit of air escape, so I opened up the supply, turned on the pump, gave it some more pressure, some more fluid. I never opened the return, so all it's doing is repressurizing that loop, and then I shut the supply off, shut my pump off, so it's not deadheading. And then, you know, I just kind of keep doing that, which is just kind of keeping the pressure in these things topped up, probably way higher than it should be. I mean, it's probably got like, I don't know, I should throw a gauge on it and see. It's probably got 45 pounds on it, but that's okay. You know, the more pressure, the more you really squeeze those air bubbles and hopefully get them up to those bleeders. So I had an error with this pump. When I turned it on, it said something like sensor 1 missing, and I was worried because this is the one I bought off eBay, but I think it was just not in correctly or something, so I took it out and kind of seated the wire, and now it seems to be fine. So it's kind of neat. It's showing return and supply are exactly the same. Same thing here, return and supply are exactly the same. And it's funny, this is my staple up, it's reading 66. And this is my slabs, which is coming from the garage, which is reading 57. And I know the garage temperature right now is 58, because that's what I have the unit heaters out there set to. So, pretty cool. So since these things are identical, the supply and the return, they're within the 20 degree. Actually, I wonder if I can turn that down. I'll have to read the manual on how to adjust this. Setup mode, yes. US, yes. I gotta figure out how to adjust that temperature differential, but probably leave the slabs at 20. I'll probably leave the staple up maybe lower, like 10. So these are really quiet pumps, which is nice because they're the ones that are going to be in continuous circulation. This one has a little bit of a vibration, but I also didn't put the clamp on it yet up there, and I notice when I push up it goes away. So I really need to just get this thing installed. But yeah, so far I think those two are full. I'm about to do the Snowmelt. I figured I'd bring you guys along with me. Now I haven't opened this up yet because I don't have another hose. So there might be some air in here, but so what I want to do here is first, let me see here. So that's just circulating, doing its thing. I'm happy with those settings. This one is off right now, so let's go ahead and put that in full speed override. Okay, and you'll slowly see the flow ramp up here. See the gauges lowering as that pump kicks on. And this is what will happen as the delta T increases on the pump, and it can't you know, it's sensing that the return is much colder than the supply. It'll ramp up the speed all the way up to max if necessary to close the delta. So what I had already done here was kind of, my most restrictive loop is this loop 3. Or I shouldn't say that, my least restrictive loop is this loop 3 because it's the shortest. Man, I hear air in there, and these are open, so I'm hoping it gets to these valves and purges itself. They're open, so I can hear it moving around in there though. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but anyway, loop number 3 is my shortest one in the basement here, so that's going to get the most flow. The lower the little red disc, the more flow. On my loop 1 and 2, they're about the same length, so they're getting I guess the least flow of the 3, but you want them to be the same. So what I do is I pick the one that's getting the least amount of flow, and these two are pretty much, I mean, they're wide open right now, both of them. And they're both pretty much getting right below 0.6. So what I need to do is restrict this one down by closing this until I can bring that disc up so that it's in line with the other two. Just a little bit more. It's right about there. All 3 of those look even to me. Okay, and same thing with the garage. If I open all of them wide open, which one is getting the most flow? That's loop 2. Loop 1 and 3 look about the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to restrict. I mean, geez, they're pretty close as it is, but I'm gonna restrict loop number 2. a little bit more. Keep going here until it brings it up. It's just about in line with those other two. Okay, so now on this one, maybe just a little bit to get it up. A bit too much. So they don't have to be perfect, but okay. That manifold is balanced. The garage doesn't need to match the basement, but you want your 3 garage loops to be the same and you want your 3 basement loops to be the same. They could be different, but you want them to match, the 3 to match. But because I kept my loop lengths the same in both the basement and the garage, except for that one loop, they're all pretty even. They're all pretty much at 0.6 GPMs. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do here is, I think I've got everything balanced. Now this might all change. This might all change once I actually get the flat plate in the mix, because it's got to pull through that flat plate. Hopefully it can. So I'll probably end up playing with this a little bit more a little bit later, but for now I was just doing some playing, trying to get the air out. So now I'm going to do the snow melt. So why don't I go ahead and do that while I have the camera on here. So what I'm going to do is first of all, I'm going to put it in, I'm going to take it out of override. So this will put it in bypass. The other thing I could do too is open these bleeders now on these other 2 manifolds to help with that air. See if we get any out. I haven't gotten any yet. I got a little bit out of that one. So we'll leave those open. Those open. Okay, so this is in bypass mode now. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the pump. Okay, now I'm also going to open up these vents. Okay, so that right now is just bypassing through this. But you can hear it. So I'm going to open up this bleeder. Ooh, spitting and sputtering. Let's do this. Let me grab my cloth here so I don't make a mess. And if we're gonna be spitting out fluid like that, I want to go ahead and add more. So I'm gonna turn the pump on here, and I'm gonna open the intake to let more into that zone. So any air that's escaping, it's being replaced with fluid coming in under pressure. And so that's open. It's open. Stuff shoots all over me. It's good though, get that air out. Okay, so now what I want to do before I shut that off, because that's probably just deadheading right now. In fact, I want to open up a valve here and let it start to go through that loop. Which is going to bring back some really cold... Uh-oh, just saw a drip. Ah, crap. Is that leaking out of that joint, or was that air that just spit out of this thing? No, piece leaking out right there. Son of a gun. Well, we gotta fix that. Okay. Alright guys, it's a couple hours later here. So, I'm pretty sure that I got all 3 zones purged. I do have what I think is a very small leak out of that threaded joint right there. There's really nothing I can do about it. As you can tell, I probably didn't screw those in enough. The only way I can fix that is to tighten this, spin it, but it'll hit the wall. I can't really pull it off the wall. It's just frustrating. So the only thing I can do, if it continues to leak, and there's no pressure on it right now because I have another leak that I'm fixing, but if it continues to leak, what I might do is I can break the seal here, which is just a O-ring, cut a hole in the wall so that this can spin, and get another spin or 2 on it. That's pretty much all I can come up with at this point. Anyway, I also noticed some of these things are leaking. There's glycol around the bottom of these air vents here. I don't know if that stuff's going to seal itself up or if it's going to get worse. I don't know. So anyway, I was down here filling. The heaters came on like they were now for the hot water, and the very cool thing was when I had the bypass installed on these manifolds, I think I knew everything was working because I was getting 100-degree glycol going out, and I was getting like 100-degree glycol coming back. Now, it wasn't going through the loops, it was just circulating through the manifolds, but I don't think anything was airlocked. I also was getting that here in the house without the bypass on, so it was going through the loops. But down here I can't put the bypass on because of the screwed up threads, so here I wasn't getting 100 anything going out and I wasn't getting anything coming back, which tells me something's going on with this. I don't know if it's airlocked or what. It's all open. I even put the pump on it, couldn't get the pump will push. The pump flows water out of there like crazy, so I have to play with that. My plan was to go ahead and enable this pump so the heaters would fire and just try to get some heat flowing through this zone and see if I can purge it or whatever I got to do to get heat going through that. But in the meantime, I looked over here and there's a big puddle of glycol right here. So it's like, okay, and I trace it down and it's coming from this 1.5-inch supply. And sure enough, I don't know if you guys can see this, try to get you back there. There's a little spot where I didn't hit it with solder right there. Sure enough, the glycol is just bubbling out of there. So, you know, it is what it is. Shut off the supplies and isolated the loops so I don't have to refill them. But because of these chuck valves, I need to get air in here to drain this down so I can solder it. So I thought, okay, I'll open up the Snowmelt, which will bring air into this zone, and you know, I'll have to repurge that and whatever. But it won't let any air out the supply because of these valves. So the only way I could get air into this was to break this seal for this gauge open, which worked. It let all, so I'm sure this is all full of air now, which I need. I need it to be out at least below this 45. And I think it is, because when I tap on it, like if I tap on this one, it's tinny, and the ones that have water, although that one has water in it, so. But when I tap down here, I don't know. I'm hoping the glycol is out of it below that point. I mean, here's my drain point, here's my hose, it's open. It was draining a lot out. So I just hope it got it down below that. I also put my drain on this side here and opened this, because this is another lowest point here, to see if anything drains out here. Oh, there's some stuff coming out of there. So yeah, I'm just trying to drain it down below that 45 so I can get some solder, heat that thing up, hopefully get some solder on it and seal it, and then re-purge. I'll have to force that air, all this air somewhere, so it's gonna have to go back through the manifolds and just re-purge all the zones. And you know, it's just frustrating at all. I thought I was on a good roll until that leak, you know, and that's frustrating. Because there's no way to, really easy way to fix it without taking the whole thing apart. And if I have to do that, then that's what I'll do. You know, it just might take me another week or two to do it. It's just a lot of screwing around. I should have really cranked down on those two. This one I could probably tighten up if I needed to, because it'll spin. I mean, this will break free and I can spin this, but the supply is so close to the wall. You know, again, I probably could have put boards behind this manifold, but then I would have been hitting the pumps, and it's just... Anyway, so I'm going to get the soldering torch out. I'm going to try to fix that leak real good. I'm going to heat it back up, get some solder on it, reseal this, fill it, purge it, hopefully it doesn't leak. Give all three zones a good purge again, because now there's going to be air in them, because it's inevitable that air is in here. So as soon as I open these, air is going to go. So I'll have to purge all three of them again. And then what I think I'm going to do is fill, go back to pumping into that fill, pumping out, might even pump out right where I have it right there. I might hook the expansion tank up, open that valve, pressurize it to like 15, and shut the pump off. Let it go. See if it's airlocked. See if it holds. You know, if it can circulate on its own. See if these pumps can pull through this flat plate. Hopefully these. You know, I did all the head calculations. I would think that these pumps are powerful enough to do this, but at this point I don't know. So anyway, yeah, that's the other thing I noticed when that pump's on. I don't think I was getting any flow reading on those gauges. Like, it's not getting through. So something's got to be airlocked on that middle slab zone. I don't know if there's air in the tubes or what, but it's probably in these pipes. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna try to fix that and go ahead and start to repurge, and I'll bring you guys back at some point and give you an update. Alright, both of the radiant zones are full. They're currently both on override. And the Belimo valves are closed. So these are just bypassing. They're just circulating, doing their thing. I don't hear any air moving around. I've got flow on both manifolds. This needs to be rebalanced because I was opening them and closing them trying to give it a good purge. So I'm pretty sure those two zones are done. I think I've got all the air out. So now I need to do the Snowmelt. But I don't want to go through the loops because I don't want to freeze that flat plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the pump back on. Open up the supply. I'm going to let it circulate through this top manifold. Open up the return, get a good purge there. I'm going to let that run for a bit. Then I'm probably going to shut these off. Shut the pump off. Move this hose over to here. Turn it on, do the same thing. Try and get a good purge here. And then that zone should be charged. So then all I'm going to do is try to make sure that I get a good flush through the flat plate. I'll move my braided line over, hook it up to the expansion tank, open that valve. Everything else over there will be closed. I'll have the pump on, so it'll just push. It can't go that way, so it'll just push the glycol right through up to here and out. I will charge it up to about 15 pounds. And shut it off. Shut off the pump. Shut off the feed. And let it start to circulate. At least the 2 radiant zones. I might let them circulate without turning on the pump for the heaters. See how they do circulating all this. See if we get any more air out. Then, if that goes well, what I'm going to do is go to that 3rd snowmelt zone. Open up all those loops. Turn it on. I'll turn on that switch so that the heater has power, because it's going to need it so it doesn't freeze. And we're going to run that. We're going to see how that goes. Basically just keep doing this until I feel all the air's out and that it's holding, 15 pounds. I'll have to check the pressure on that tank, but I think that's 13. So I think we're getting there. The only I was able to tighten that up. That's not leaking anymore. The only problem I have is this damn joint up here. So that's why I have this cloth here, is because it's dripping. And it sucks because, of this whole project. It's got to be one of these. I can try and get another half turn on it. I don't know, before that valve hits the wall. Yeah, it's just too bad. It just sucks that it's leaking. Everything else is good, and if it had been this one, it would have been no problem. I could have spun that around one more time easily. It is what it is, but the leak in the solder joint is fixed. I think I mentioned that. Everything else is good. I'm happy that these two, man, that dryer is stuff vibrating over there. It's making a racket. These pumps are dead silent. They're very quiet pumps. So I think that's going to work great. Those Belimo valves open up nice and slow, which causes these check valves not to slam open. They just slowly start to pull in fluid, and you can slowly see the flow increase on the manifolds. So I can show you, for example, the slab. I'll take it out of override, and you'll watch the flow. It's going to slow down because the supply and the return are exactly the same, 57 degrees. So this is going to start dropping in wattage and in GPMs. And you'll slowly see these red discs rise to the top as the flow stops. I do need to rebalance these, but it's already down to 13 watts from 60 watts, 12. So you can slowly see it change a little bit, but this is what I want. I mean, this is continuous circulation, so I think I've already mentioned it, but how you adjust these is you pick your one that has the least amount of flow for that area. So my master bedroom, master bedroom, master bathroom. So I kind of want these three to be roughly the same. So my one that has the least flow is this master bedroom east supply. So that one's going to stay wide open, and these other ones we're going to slow down just a little bit till we pretty much get it. And that one's already there. So those three are even. Now these two are the kitchen, so we want these two to be the same. This one has the least flow, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust this one so that it's even with the other kitchen loop. And then the shower walls, I'm just going to leave that the way it is, although I really don't think we need that much heat going in there, so I might just chuck that down a little bit. I'll have it match the bathroom and the bedroom right at that 0.8 gallons a minute mark. So there we're at 0.8, 0.8, 0.8, 0.8. So that's the master bathroom, the master bedroom, the master bedroom, the master shower. So those are all getting the same flow. The kitchen's getting a little bit less at 0.6 each. And that probably has to do because one of these kitchen loops has that slab, that side entryway slab on it. So that might be slowing it down a little bit. I think some of the PEX turns that the concrete guys did were kind of tighter than they should have been. The radius was a little tighter, but yeah, so that's pretty much going to use, when it's sitting there in continuous circulation mode, it's using 12 watts, just like nothing. It's very efficient. Okay, I switched methods here a little bit, and instead of purging from there, I'm purging from each individual zone independently. So what I've done is I've put all three zones in override so that they're not bypassing, they're going straight through. I have shut off the return on all three. I started here, I turned on my pump, I hooked my hose up to my purge valve there. I turned on my pump, which is still going in the supply side. I opened up the supply. It's over. Independently opened every single one of these and let it purge, but on the outlet side it can't go back, so it's coming out here and went back into the bucket. And I did that for 10 minutes on this zone. And I've been testing it. I don't hear any air. I think we're good on this one. I've just been playing with this pump. Now the supply and the return are pretty much reading identical, so the pump is at its lowest setting, so it really doesn't read much on here, which is interesting. But if I put it up into override, you can see as it ramps up, There it goes, it's starting to speed up. And this will be similar to what it does when it's on. So I had everything balanced out pretty much the same. This one got a little off. I'll have to keep playing with this because I'm sure these little spring-loaded flow controls aren't perfect, but that one's a little high. That one's a little high too. So I've done this 4 or 5 times now, and every time it comes back. So I don't think it's airlocked. I think that the zone itself from here to here is air free, and currently it's just bypassing. It's doing its thing. Now I go ahead and take it out of bypass, and it will slowly slow itself down because the supply and the return are exactly the same. So it almost will slow down to nothing, but you want it constantly circulating because as the return cools, it's going to kick off the aquastat. So if it's not circulating at all, then it's not going to ever kick off the aquastat to know that the room has cooled. And then once the aquastat kicks off, it opens the 3-way valve, starts picking up heat, turns on the heater, starts picking up 100 and whatever degree water. The supply jumps way up, the return will still be low, the pump will speed way up to try and keep the delta T at 10 until the return starts coming back to satisfy the aquastat. Once that happens, turns off the pumps, closes the 3-way valve, and stays in continuous circulation mode. So I'm pretty confident that I have these 2 zones completely air free. I'm going to do the Snowmelt one now. I'm going to start with this manifold. I'm going to give it a good purge. I'm going to then shut this off. I'm going to hook this hose up to the next manifold, give that a good purge, shut it off so that that's hopefully charged. I'll run the pump on that for a little bit while it's running, but and then I'll put it in bypass. I'll shut off my switch before I turn the pump off so that it's bypassing, and this pump can just continue to bypass for a little bit, and I'll see if I hear anything. If all is good there, what I think I'm going to do is, with these in bypass, really nothing can get up the return. So what I think I'll probably do is, the Snowmelt is the furthest one away. So I'm considering purging from here and possibly filling from one of these 2 to try to get the air out of that primary loop. I'll leave all these supplies off, and I'll leave these other 2 returns off, so nothing can mess with my zones. I just need to try to purge the air out of the primary loop, all the 1/2-inch piping, which, I mean, it feels full, and it's warm. Feels full, but I want to give that a good purge, give that a good flush. Once that's done, I think what I'm going to do is close my purge, close my fill, but I'll leave the pump, I'll leave the hoses connected so no new air is sucked in if they stay underneath the glycol. I will open everything up. I might turn the pump on variable speed slow until I can get the pressure in the system up to 15. I'll have the expansion tank hooked up and open. I'll have the cap off that Spyrovent once I'm done purging. I'll do those two things before I do my final check. And then I think we turn it on. See if we hear air, see if it runs, if it circulates and starts to get the rest of the air out on its own. I mean, these pumps are running right now. They're both pretty much staying right where they are, so let's see when I turn this off if you can see these move. See, they rose up a little bit. We can do the same thing with this. So they are circulating. I think I'm good on these two zones. We'll do the last one. Okay, everyone, I'm sure you're sick of these updates, and it's the same old thing, so I'll try and be brief here, but I'm an idiot. I know I even talked about my own plan here, and then I didn't follow it, and I screwed myself a little bit. So for some reason I took this hose off of here, which I did not want to do, because from my final purge of the Snowmelt, before I put it back in bypass mode, it's full. And if both ends are, if that end's in the water, it can't drain. There's no air in it because I've been purging it. So anyway, I disconnected that. And then I realized, like, crap, I want to use that hose to purge, to purge the primary loop. Because when this is in bypass, this is closed back here. So I should be able, hindsight's always 20/20. I would have put another valve in here. I would have put another ball valve in here so that I could shut this off and then use this purge here to purge the primary loop. But I didn't, but I think I'm okay, because as long as this is in bypass, this is watertight here. I mean, it was holding air when it was in bypass. So, anyway, then I took the hose off, which put a bunch of air in it. Then I reconnected it. Then when I opened this, I heard all that air go into the pipe. And then it's like, okay, well, I should try and purge that. So I turned the pump on. I turned the Snowmelt loop on, thinking that I could purge it out. But I don't even remember what I did now. I had it not in bypass, so all the air went up and into the system, and it was just like... So I connected my hose back up to my valves here, gave it all the good purge again. I also purged the loops again, which is why they're all wet. They're condensing because it's 30... It was down to, like... This aquastat on the return here was reading like 28 degrees coming back. But anyway, oh, tell me that is another leak right there. Anyway, I have one leak that I know of, which is right here on this thread. I tried to turn it a little bit more, but I can't get it anymore without the valve hitting the wall. So this spins because that's a rubber bushing, so I think what I'm going to have to do is cut the wall out with the Dremel from behind or whatever and get another turn on that thing. It is what it is. I'll try and do it in a way where I can put it back. At this point, I don't really care what it looks like. I just want it done. I just noticed this, but I don't know if that was from that. That's been dripping down onto things, and then because it doesn't look like that's leaking, but I'll keep an eye on that. If it is, that's easy. I can just get another rotation on that because it won't hit the wall, and I can pop this handle off if necessary, and I don't think the gauge will hit. So it's these supplies that are tight. But anyway, yeah, so that's dripping ever so slowly, but I had all of these on. In fact, I just tested it again now that things have sat for a while. Nothing's airlocked. I turned the pump on. I put it in override. The flow registers. It just flows. And then the Snowmelt, same thing. If I turn this switch on, you know, it's flowing. It's just recirculating, so it's not getting any heat. It's just moving the cold water around in the loop.
but it's working, and the pump is working fine, and I'm getting, looks like 1 gallon a minute through every single loop, which is pretty good considering it's pretty cold out. Up there I'm getting even more, so I probably have to balance these out. But yeah, it's working. So I hear some little ticks of air in there as it pumps, but I'm not worried about that. I think that'll work its way out. For the most part, a majority of the air is purged. So what I'm going to do now is what I wanted to do a half hour ago before I was stupid and took that hose off. There's no air in this hose, so I'm going to turn my pump on, which is pressurizing the primary loop, or the supply, but it can't go into the supply because I'm going to leave these off. I know these are full because it's been purging through here, okay? So instead what I'm going to do is, with that on and charged, I'm going to open this valve, and I'm going to leave this closed, and it's going to start to build pressure. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to, once it builds a little bit of pressure, I'm going to open this valve and open this valve and purge it. So I'm going to pump in this way, up, down through the flat plate, out, over, up, over, out here. So that's pretty much the entire primary loop, and I'm going to let that run for 5 minutes and just give it a real good air purge. If there's any air left in that flat plate, I'm going to do that. So then what I'm going to do is, with my pump on variable speed, I put a gauge in here just as a little extra, but I'm going to try to slowly close off this valve right here and let it build pressure until it gets to about 15, and then I'm going to shut the pump off, or I'm going to just shut that supply off going in. Probably will be what I do, and then I'll shut the pump off. So then it's charged. Then what I'll do is open everything up and see what the pressure's at. I'll open all the returns, I'll open all the supplies, I'll let the whole system equalize. The expansion tank is hooked up, it's charged to 15 pounds. I will pull the cap off that spiral vent. That will already be open, and we'll see what we're at. I could let the radiant zones circulate through the whole thing. I don't want to let the Snowmelt do that without the heaters being on, because I'm afraid it'll freeze the water on the domestic side. So yeah, that's kind of my plan here. And if it loses pressure because there's air or something, then I'll turn the pump on and I'll slowly open that valve a little bit until I get the pressure back up to where I want it, and then I'll close it. And I'll just keep doing that, and I'll just keep letting these things circulate. And it's Saturday, it's already getting later in the day now. I don't know that I'll turn the Snowmelt on and leave it on overnight. I don't know that I trust it that much yet. I think I want to be down here to watch it at first, or at least be around to monitor things. If some other piece of copper starts to leak or something, I don't want it down here leaking all night and making a mess. So I'm pretty sure these two are okay. The Snowmelt's a big lift. I mean, I think that's going to be putting these things to the test. So anyway, that's my plan. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Get that purged, get it pressurized, try and equal it out. And then with any luck, when I bring you guys back, I will be done filling and purging. I'm going to take whatever's left in there, try and run it through like a strainer or something, like one of those paint strainers if I can find one, and put it back into the bucket and seal it so I have some glycol left. So yeah, I'm probably not going to do that right away, because I want to leave all these hoses and that pump and everything connected. At least the supply. I can probably take away the return once I get it pressurized, but I want to be able to add more glycol, more pressure if needed, without putting air in the line. So I'll probably just leave all that. So anyway, I'm going to go do that, and I'll be back. We are in business. So right now I have both the radiant zones on. The system is pressurized to about 14 pounds. It's showing that on both gauges, which is good. I have both radiant zones on right now, the slabs and the staple up. I'm using 148,000 BTUs. I'm getting 102 degree water coming back, 140 out, 102 coming back, and I'm getting 120 on the opposite side of the flat plate, which is awesome. That's perfect. I don't hear any air. Everything seems to be doing good. I'm holding pressure. I heard some things snap and crackle and stuff when I first turned it on, but I'm sure this PEX is just expanding. But it's nice and toasty going out. I mean, and these things are nice and quiet. They're just humming along with the primary pump here. Probably should have rerouted that hose so it wasn't laying on it, but it should be okay. So what I want to do now, I'm debating if I want to leave this on. I mean, I think I do. I think I want to leave it on and let it start heating. I don't have the Snowmelt on. I think that's going to be tomorrow. But what I wanted to do is balance these out. So my highest one, or my lowest one I should say, is a 0.4 on the shower wall. Let's see if I can open that up a little bit. Oh, I can actually, these aren't all the way open. Alright, let's open everything up. Now I think my design, when I did my design, pretty sure it told me I wanted like a half a gallon a minute through these. I hear air. I hear air in there somewhere. Hopefully it makes its way to that spire vent. I took the cap off that. That is the staple up. I had set to 90 coming back. And it hit 90. So that's real good. And now the temperatures come up because it's not sucking so much off the flat plate, so the BTUs are way down, 77,000. I'll have to play with that. I don't know if 90 is enough, and if that's going to short cycle the heaters. So right now we have a supply of 105 and a return of 104, so this pump is really starting to lower itself. But it's still circulating. So anyway, back to balancing this out. My lowest one is right there, which right now it's only at 0.2. So let me see if I can even this out. To get the rest of them. At 0.2 as well. And the reason they're at 0.2 right now is because the pump is slowed way down, because the return is already up to 103 degrees, so it's not calling for more heat. So they are still, the middle one is still cooking away. That's the slabs, because the supply is 62 and the return is 131. That's not right. Those are backwards. And I have to switch those leads. It's okay, that's easy. be an issue though, because if the supply is colder than the return, it might not be pumping like it should. What am I getting out? I'm getting 100 and something out. So yeah, I'm gonna have to switch those leads around. They must be reversed. The supply is obviously the 130 and the return is obviously 62. So man, I'm getting 130 degree water now going out. So cool. It's pretty hot though, but it's not really putting 130 into the see, that pump's not on, so it is putting 130 into the slab right now. Hopefully that, just move that over to here. There we go. No, that's not rubbing on that. Oh no, yeah, these slabs are still coming back cool, especially that garage. So this might be on a little bit for that. I think for right now though, I am going to turn it off. I'm going to fix that so that it's reading correctly. Did I get everything balanced here before I do that? I think so. Okay, how about this down here? Let's take a look at this. Obviously, garage loop 3 is my... Make sure they're all wide open first of all. Okay. One is this guy, which puts me right at 0.8. Actually, those two are about this. Actually, those three are about the same. That one needs to be slowed down a little bit. Too much. This one needs to be slowed down. This is the basement loop 3. That's that long, or that really short one, which makes sense that it's stealing more of the flow. So that one, hard to read. It's condensation or something in there with that disc. Where the disc is gone. Where's the bottom of that disc? Oh crap. What happened here? Condensation around it, so it's actually closer to 0.6. I think that I want those. See if we can shut this one right off for a minute and get that crap off the lens. Yeah, it won't go anymore. I can't dip it down into the fluid to clean it up. So wide open, that's right there. Oh, too much. Okay, I'm happy with that right there. So those are balanced out. 130 going out. And we still have 66. Yeah, so 130 going out. It says return. 68 coming back. So we're looking good. The staple up is dropped down to 100, so at 90 that's probably going to come on again. Yeah. Nice. Okay, and how are we doing on pressure? We're still right at 14 pounds, so that's good to see too. If we get any air out of any of these, I try to leave them closed. I don't know. They seem like they were letting air in earlier more than they were letting it out. These ones I have open. But well, a little bit came out of there. So they do work. But yeah, anyway guys, I'll end this. That's Snowmelt. Check these up here. Nothing in there. Spire vent is doing this thing. Wow, so this is working. It's working as designed. And I think it's, you know, it's 100,000 BTUs now because it's bringing everything up to temp. But I really think once this slab get up to temperature, I really don't think it's going to be anywhere near that. It's just going to be coming on and sipping right along. Just to maintain. So, all right, I'm gonna probably go get dinner and I'm gonna turn it, I think I'm gonna turn it off because I need to fix that sensor and I kind of want to be down here to watch it. So yeah, good. Hey, it's up and running, it's working. Tomorrow morning I think all I've got to do is come down here and turn that Snowmelt switch on and activate, set the aquastat and turn that pump on, and then we're really gonna see this thing go to town. I have to decide if I want to it's leaking there too. Alright, so on the Snowmelt side, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and no, I'll leave it open. I didn't close that off because it's I got two of these things that are leaking now. Son of a gun. So this one I might get down here tonight and twist it, get another turn on it. That's easy. The rest of these are fine. It's just tell me that one's leaking too. These ones are all good over here. But yeah, I might end up cutting that plywood out and just tightening that up because I really don't want it dripping. So anyway, that'll be it for now.